Welcome back. You're watching Live from Paris. It's time now for Focus and the latest in our series on the lives of women in the post-revolution Arab world. Well, in Syria, the battle between the regime and the rebels continues. The bloodiest of the Arab uprisings. Tens of thousands of people have been killed and many more displaced. Tonight we're discussing those women who managed to escape the horrors of war, but who are finding that life in neighbouring countries brings a different kind of danger. Naila El Eid sent us this report.
This Syrian family has found refuge in this apartment in Akkar, northern Lebanon. Mahmoud, who prefers not to give her full name, keeps showing us things she's made, like this bed base or this low table. To help the family get by in their precarious circumstances, her daughter Dalia works as a waitress in a restaurant. But the young woman says she faces daily harassment from the men there.
At first, the restaurant owner was always putting his hands like this. He approached from behind to frighten me. He said it's just a joke. He's an old man. I didn't say anything to him. But after several times, he asked me why I wasn't laughing with him. I said I hadn't come here to laugh. Here, they think a Syrian girl is easy and easy to take advantage of.
Mahmoud tells us many men have asked for the hand of her second daughter, aged 30.
They come and say, we are going to change your life. Our financial situation is very good. And if you accept our proposal, we will bring you chairs.
Abu Muhammad criticizes these marriage proposals made in exchange for assistance. For the Syrian activist, member of a refugee aid organization, they often mask more exploitative practices.
These men are mistreating the woman, taking advantage of their vulnerability to satisfy their personal desires. They're asking for something in return for their help. This way of getting married is wrong. It's like buying and selling. It allows the men to satisfy their needs and then just abandon the girl afterwards.
Family pressure, a conservative community. The Syrian victims seem afraid to speak out, fearing deadly reprisals. So far, the UN Agency for Refugees has only recorded a few cases.
At this point in time, we are not able to confirm whether this is a huge issue within the community or only something that's affecting a few cases. We have so far only had about a handful of cases reported to us that we have been addressing of young girls who have been pressurized in different ways by the family or by the community to enter into marriage.
According to UNHCR, women and children make up 80% of Syrian refugees in Lebanon. They fled, leaving behind their homes and personal belongings. Some face not only economic hardship, but also humiliation.
Well, tonight's Focus guest is Ninette Kelly. She's Lebanon's representative for the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. Thank you very much for being with us on France 24. How widespread are the problems that we just saw in that report facing Syrian refugees?
Well, I think the problems in general, their economic marginalization, their difficulties, the trauma they've suffered, and the dislocation that you see. I'm not able to see your report, unfortunately, from here, but that would be played out throughout the country. But as our colleague Anna Lear mentioned to you, it's very difficult for us to get a fix on how widespread the kind of abuse that you've alluded to is here. We are doing our best, and with our partners, to have massive outreach in the communities to ensure that this kind of thing does not happen and that we address those risks very dramatically and appropriately when they're identified to us. But as she also mentioned, people are very reluctant to come forward, very reluctant to be able to speak to exactly these kinds of vulnerabilities. One, because they're very fear of reprisals, but two, because of the shame. Now, with respect to child labor, that is something that is somewhat more easily addressed because that's driven by economic necessity. So when we know there are families that are that vulnerable, we do provide them with assistance, and that should help to alleviate the need for children to go out and work and put themselves in harm's way, as was alluded to in that report.
And what advice do you give to women to protect themselves and protect their children? I mean, after all, they are in an extremely vulnerable position.
They're extremely vulnerable. Now, most women are living with hosting families, or they're living in collective centers where there's other people there that can provide them with a measure of protection and support. But where they're not, where that doesn't happen, one of the things we try to do is ensure that these young people, these young children are in school. So we do a lot of educational assistance. We do a lot of outreach to families and counseling. And we are also working with the government through the Ministry of Social Affairs to provide kind of authoritative outreach and support to these young women in these families, so that this kind of violence that occurs in the communities does not continue.
Right. I was going to ask you, actually, what level of cooperation is there between the UN's Refugee Agency and the host country, Lebanon?
There's very solid cooperation, but I think it has to be remembered that here there isn't much of a safety net. That the exploitation of women that might be experienced in a refugee community probably also plays itself out in Lebanon as a whole. And there's very few services to address the needs of women in these kinds of situations. So that's an endemic problem in Lebanon, not just in Lebanon, in many countries in the world. But certainly it's something that we are trying to tackle, and we're trying to tackle it with the Lebanese authorities.
And how does Lebanon compare with other countries when it comes to safety for refugees? For example, Turkey and Jordan, where the majority of other Syrians have gone in the wake of the conflict?
Well, I think it has to be, I think we have to remember that 200,000 refugees have received protection and assistance here in Lebanon, and that's a staggering number of people for a very small country. We're registering now more than 30,000 every month. 2,000 people approach us every day. So the story of these cases of exploitation, while very heartbreaking and admittedly they go on, it doesn't tell the full story. The full story is a much richer one, where you've seen many thousands, tens of thousands of people welcomed into Lebanese homes, strangers who they haven't known and who have resided there for months in and months out in a country that's already very politically, socially, and economically fragile. So there is an incredible generosity that has been shown to refugees, and a lot of assistance has been provided, but that in no way is meant to diminish the kinds of vulnerabilities that you've exposed in this report and that need to be told.
Ninette Kelly, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Focus.
Thank you so much for your interest.
Well, it's time to take a break. When we come back, all the latest on that hostage crisis in Algeria. The Algerian government is, a source close to the Algerian government, I should say, is now saying that armed mission to try to free those hostages has ended. Both France and Britain admit they were caught off guard with how the Algerians carried out the raid. We'll have all the very latest for you right after this. Don't go away.